10 Minutes of History. Dr. Carolyn Robertson Payton. Early life and education. Dr. Carolyn Robertson Payton was born on May 13, 1925, in Norfolk, Virginia. Her mother was a seamstress and the daughter of a slave. Her father, a ship steward and the grandson of African royalty. Dr. Payton was raised during the Great Depression, but because her father's job allowed him to bring food from the ship home and her mother's job allowed for clothing for the family, Dr. Payton recounted that she did not feel the effects of the Depression. Education was very important in Dr. Payton's family. Her grandfather, a slave, ensured that all of his children went to college. Because of this dedication to education, Dr. Payton's family had a high number of college graduates. Dr. Payton was advanced educationally, and after skipping 4th and 7th grades, Dr. Payton enrolled at Bennett College, a women's college in Greensboro, North Carolina, with her older sister at the age of 16. She earned her Bachelor of Science degree in 1945. Despite taking only one psychology course in her undergraduate studies, Dr. Payton decided to pursue psychology for her graduate education. Due to the separate but equal doctrine of the time, the state of Virginia did not allow Black students to attend white institutions. However, if the Black institutions in the state did not have the students' desired subject, the state of Virginia would cover the expenses of study in another state. Because of this policy and the success of fellow Bennett College graduates who attended the University of Wisconsin for graduate school, Dr. Payton decided to enroll at the University of Wisconsin at Madison to pursue her master's degree. At the University of Wisconsin at Madison, Dr. Payton studied under Harry Harlow. Dr. Payton expressed that while she did not believe that Harry Harlow was racist, texts and readings from his class claimed that African Americans were less intelligent than white people according to the newly developed Wechsler-Bellevue test of intelligence. Dr. Payton was so dismayed and embarrassed by such claims that she made this the topic of her master's thesis. She would later go on to become a field supervisor for the standardization of the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scales in 1976, one of the first instances where African Americans contributed to the development of test norms. In 1948, Dr. Payton earned her master's degree in psychology from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Doctoral pursuit and professional life. Dr. Payton's first position post-master's was at Livingstone College, an HBCU in Salisbury, North Carolina. She then became the Dean of Women at Elizabeth City State Teachers College, another HBCU in Salisbury, North Carolina, in 1953. In 1956, she began her doctoral studies in counseling and student administration at Columbia University. Before completing her doctorate, Dr. Payton became a psychology professor at Howard University, an HBCU in Washington, D.C., in 1959. She later earned her doctorate from Columbia University in 1962. Dr. Payton's involvement with the Peace Corps began in 1964. Between 1964 and 1970, she held several leadership positions with the Peace Corps, ultimately becoming the Chief Field Selection Officer for all of Latin America. She was asked to resign, however, because her beliefs about the goals of the organization clashed with other Peace Corps leaders' ideas. She believed that the most important aspect of the Peace Corps was the connections between the participants and the natives. Other Peace Corps leaders asserted that the work that the participants produced was most important. In 1970, after resigning from the Peace Corps, she returned to Howard University to become the director of the University Counseling Services, and later the Dean of Counseling and Career Development. While at Howard University, Dr. Payton's counseling services became such an influential force that they were made accessible to community members outside of Howard University. Dr. Payton added the Peace Corps to her professional responsibilities again in 1977 when President Jimmy Carter appointed her as the director of the Peace Corps. She was the first African American and the first woman to hold the position. Dr. Payton was an active member of the APA and served on several committees, including the Task Force on Bias and Sex Role Stereotyping in Psychotherapeutic Practice, the Committee on Gay Concerns, the APA Policy and Planning Board, and she served as the chair of the APA Committee on Scientific and Professional Ethics and Conduct and the chair of the APA Committee on Women in Psychology. Dr. Payton retired from the Howard University Counseling Services in 1995. She continued to provide consultation and advice until her death on April 11, 2001, at 75 years old. Notable contributions and awards. Dr. Payton's career centered around cultural awareness, social injustice, and the policies involved in those areas. Dr. Payton's 1984 article titled, "Who Must Do the Hard Things?" called to question the APA's argument of whether or not it was appropriate for the organization to take a stance on social issues. While some argued that involving psychology in social issues would reduce the credibility of the field, Dr. Payton argued that addressing social issues was critical to enhancing the image of the APA. In her 1981 article titled, "Substance Abuse and Mental Health, Special Prevention Strategies Needed for Ethnics of Color," Dr. Payton suggested taking a closer look at the variables associated with substance use and abuse specific to minority communities. In her 1994 article titled, "Implications of the 1992 Ethics Code for Diverse Groups," Dr. Payton scrutinized the 1992 APA Code of Ethics, which on the surface appeared to consider the needs of women and minorities, however, upon closer inspection, seemed to be merely protection for psychologists. She argued that the 1992 APA Code of Ethics was actually a step backward rather than progress, and could be detrimental to women, minorities, and members of the LGBTQ+ community. The APA recognized Dr. Payton's work through several different awards. In 1982, Dr. Payton received the APA Distinguished Professional Contributions to Public Service Award. In 1985, she received the APA Committee on Women in Psychology Award, Distinguished Leader for Women in Psychology. And in 1997, she received the APA Award for Outstanding Lifetime Contribution to Psychology. Throughout her career, the theme of improving conditions for minorities persisted. From her master's thesis debunking the myth that African Americans were less intelligent than white Americans, to her steadfast belief that connections between Peace Corps participants and natives of their designated posts was the most important aspects of Peace Corps experience, to her challenging policy in favor of increased attention to diversity, to her contributions that led to improved counseling availability in the African American community. It is clear that Dr. Payton was a champion and a leader in the charge to use psychology to positively impact social issues. Such humanitarian efforts were integral in the development of psychology and remain relevant in modern psychology as we tackle social injustice. Because, as Dr. Payton asked, if we do not do it, then who will?